Good morning. Today's promise, I want to talk to you about access to justice. And this is a follow on from our first episode of the rule of law. Before I begin, I want to say welcome to the law report, and this is our second episode. Now, access to justice is a very important principle, and it is a very important principle that emanates from the principle of the rule of law. In the absence of access to justice, people will not be able to have their voices heard. They will not be able to exercise their rights or challenge discrimination, human rights abuses, or they will not be able to hold decision makers to account. The United Nations, in its declaration of the high-level meeting and the rule of law, emphasized the right of equal access to justice for all, including members of vulnerable groups, maybe the physically challenged, the mentally challenged, or minorities, refugees, etc. The United Nations states that ensuring access to justice is a core component of the rule of law. One of the major obstacles in accessing justice is the cost of legal advice and legal representation. Thus, legal aid and other programs should be an essential component of the strategy to enhance access to justice. As Justice Lewis Powell Jr. of the United States said, and I quote, "Equality or equal justice under the law is not merely captioned on the facade of the Supreme Court building. It is perhaps the most inspiring ideal of our society. It is one of the ends for which our entire legal system exists. It is fundamental that justice should be the same in substance and in availability without regard to economic status." End of quote. International standards recognize access to justice as both a basic human right as well as the means to protect other universal recognized human rights. Too often, the concept and principle only exist on paper, but enforcement standards are weak. Thus, marginalized and vulnerable groups are locked out of the system, and either by design or inadvertently, access to justice is denied. Access to justice not only includes the person's ability to access the courts and to secure legal representation, it encompasses access to the police, access to fair, impartial, and speedy investigation when a report is made, access to government institutions, and access to protection of those institutions, and access to protection of the state. Where access to justice is constrained or the provision of legal aid is limited, the importance of pro bono representation is crucial. When access to justice is available to ordinary citizens, the rule of law is secured. Thank you very much. In our next episode, we'll speak on another important principle, a concept of law.